Hi everybody, welcome to Exploring Foods with Smitty. So, what I'm getting ready to work on today is prime rib. I went to the Amish market when everyone was here and I brought a piece of prime rib. So, he gave me a great big piece and I thought, that's a little bit too much. So what I did is I had him cut them in half, because one was just this is cut in half. So what I'm going to do, I looked at many recipes on how to make this and I decided to do this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my stuff together, and when I come back we're going to be prepping our prime rib. Okay, so now that I have my prime rib all nice and washed and dried. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my prime rib and I'm going to place it on my pan here. So the reason I'm doing this is because they said it's best to place the prime rib in the refrigerator anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to allow it to dry out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some salt to it. And what that's going to do is just help it to draw out any of the moisture. So that's on that side. And then I'm going to flip it and do the other side. And this is just coarse ground sea salt. That's what I'm putting on. And they said not to be scared to put salt on, so I'm not being scared. So what I'm going to do is put this into the refrigerator uncovered for 48 hours, from 24 to 48 hours. And then we're going to come back and we're going to see what we need to do with the rest of it. Okay, so welcome back. Remember when I left, I had put my prime rib in the refrigerator so that it could kind of dry out. And I had it in for probably 24, a little over 24 hours. So this is how it looks now that I've taken it out of the refrigerator. Let's see if you can see this. Yeah, this is how it looks. It looks kind of dried. You can tell where I put a lot of salt at and where I didn't. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put oil on it and season it. I'm going to add some black pepper and just a tad bit of salt because I've already salted it. So in order to make my seasoning stick, I'm going to use oil. So I'm going to put some oil on this side, like so. And then what I'm going to do is turn it over and put some oil on this side. And because this is a small piece of prime rib, I'm not going to have to cook it as long, and it's going to hopefully crust faster than it would. So what I'm going to do is add some pepper. I don't want to add too much pepper because, believe it or not, this pepper gets hot. This is Watkins pepper, and it's not the pepper to play with. You don't want your food hot. And just a tad bit of salt. And then what I'm adding to this is my husband bought this seasoning. It's called buttery steak sauce. So I'm going to add some of this on, a generous amount, so that we can get it. Let's see, let's get it opened here. There we go. Add some of this on both sides. And that looks delicious. Now, if this was a bigger piece of prime rib, they wouldn't have you, I'm going to brown it off before I put it in the oven. You would put it in the oven first, and then you would brown it off. There. I'm going to turn that over, and I'm going to add some more pepper on this side. Like I said, you don't want to add too much pepper because you don't want your stuff to get too hot. There we go. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And then to that, more of the buttery mix on this side. And you want to put it on a generous amount because you want it to flavor, plus you want it to get a crust. And this right here will help it to get a crust. So I'm putting it on, and I'm just kind of mashing it in, waiting for my butter to melt with my oil. Okay, so I'm going to let my pan finish getting hot, and when I come back, we're going to be browning this off in the skillet. Okay, so like anytime you're dealing with a cast iron skillet, it's going to get hot really fast. So what I'm going to do, hopefully it's hot enough to crust. My butter and my oil has melted. What I'm going to do is put my steak in, or my prime rib. And I'm just going to let it brown on each side. Okay, let's crank this up. So when I come back, we're going to be flipping this over so that it can brown on the other side. Okay, so let's get ready to turn it over and see what we got. Oh, nice sear. That's a nice sear in my steak. We're loving every minute of it. So we're going to brown this up, and when we come back, I'm going to be putting it on to my baking dish. I'm going to put it into the oven. Okay, so I think it's time to take this out. And usually when you have a good piece of meat, trust me, you don't have to do a lot of seasoning on it because it's a good piece of meat, and all you're going to need really is salt and pepper. So let's go ahead and get this in the oven, and when we come back, we'll be taking it out the heat and letting it rest. Okay, so as you can hear, our oven has gone off. So that's mean it's time to take our prime rib out. So let me go ahead and turn this off. There we go. So let's take out our prime rib and see what we got. It smells delicious. And there we are. Because it wasn't a big piece of meat, you don't have to cook it a whole long time. So what I'm going to do, so that the juices don't run out, is I'm going to cover it in foil and let it rest like so. And then when we come back, we'll taste a little bit. Okay, so now that our prime rib has rested, let's take the foil off, and it looks really beautiful. So let's get a, oh, it's beautiful. Let's get a nice piece here. And okay, so we're going to test the prime rib. This is a piece of the prime rib. That's what it looks like. I didn't want to taste a whole lot, but let's try it. It's like in between a medium rare and a done. Well, it's a medium rare, I would say. Let's give it a taste. So nice and tender. Almost like butter in your mouth. Delicious. Let's try another piece. There it is. Absolutely delicious. And that seasoning is just right. It's nice and tender. It's got a good flavor. Because like I said, when you have a good piece of meat, you don't have to use anything but salt and pepper. So, let me recap how I did this. As far as the cooking part, I oiled it and seasoned it with salt and pepper. And then my butter seasoning. And then I put it into the pan, and I browned it, seared it off on each side. And because it was such a thin piece of meat, which wasn't really thin, but about maybe 1.5 inches thick, maybe 2 inches, I put it into the oven for 15 minutes only. And then after 15 minutes, I took it out and I let it rest for about 15 or 20 minutes. And this is the finished product, which is very, very good. So I knew you didn't have to let it cook a long time because my husband was a great steak cooker. So thanks for joining me and exploring prime rib with me on this channel. And I hope that you get a chance to try this yourself, because believe me, it's very, very good. And when you go to the butcher to get some prime rib, you don't have to buy that whole big old steak. If you go to a butcher, they'll cut you off the size of the piece that you want. So thank you for joining. Look for more recipes because they're coming. And have a good one.